state election data, county also, so it's intertwined with New York City because it appears the county committees are intertwined obviously with New York City. So the New York City campaign finance website seems to only apply to elections, but we do see de Blasio and people like that contributing to the Kings County Committee, and that shows up in the state database, it appears. And we're just looking at the changes in it. Allows you to bulk download in a very not so good site in this New York State. And usually New York State is pretty good at some of this stuff, but in this area it's not so good. Now what we see is we downloaded the entire state committee information from yesterday around this time. It seems to be updated around this time, I guess in the middle of the day. And there were this many rows. We're trying to make this screen as big as possible. Now, today, there's this many rows. So the difference between those two is 23,820, right, if you look at the difference. So that means that there's 23,820 new rows. But if you ID every single field or digest every single line, and you give it an ID, then you can actually see how many are unique to each set, right? Yesterday's set has 14,489 unique IDs or unique entries. So something changed in those old entries, right? They have an ID field which is not good. It's no sense having an ID when it's duplicated all over the place. So we can't use the state ID. But if you look at the set arithmetic and you subtract and see what new items came today that are unique, there's 38,309, right? If you subtract those two numbers, you get exactly the same thing, 23,820. So that appears to be somewhat making sense. What's happening is there is something going on there where there's an amend. So if you go here, we can show, let's just close this out. Let's hope that doesn't enter. So if we do that, and if we look at, I actually downloaded or identified the records that have changed just in two cases, just to spot check them. And the only thing that seems to change is this RMN field. First of all these entries must have some paperwork associated with them. So why is there not a link to the receipts, right? The public has a right to know. This very vague statement, is this all they're submitting? They're submitting just numbers and words? They have to submit some paperwork too, right? Or some PDF file, something that proves the receipt or proves a movement of money or proves. Why is the public not seeing those? Maybe they're here somewhere. Somebody tell me. It'd be good to see. But you see, the only thing that's changing is this RMN field. It went from no to yes, from yesterday to today. But yet nothing else changed. The transaction number, which is not accurate because it's used multiple times. What kind of ID is that when you have a primary key that's duplicated? That makes it useless, right? So we get a digest for every single field and we assign it a unique ID based on the data, just the way these network file systems do, right? So that's the only change I see. So if we do it again, I spot checked another one, and I see the exact same thing, no to yes. So there was some amendment, but it didn't affect the data itself. So what is the amendment? Was there a new document submitted? The public has the right to know, right? So that's what we're seeing. And this means that it's very difficult to incrementally update this thing, because what's going to happen is those records that get this just arbitrary change that's not really a change, just the amend flag change, is going to keep a history of that in the database if we just do an in-place update. So we basically have to wipe out the database if we want to stay in sync with whatever is on the New York State database for campaign finance. Then we have to wipe it out every time, like 16 million or whatever it is, 12 million rows, and rewrite it, because there's no easy way to identify. They don't have a proper primary key, and they don't document what the change is. If that history matters, I don't think they're keeping both. The fact that it's R-amend no and R-amend yes, I don't think they're keeping both of them. So it's hard for anyone else to follow what's going on if we're going to leave a trail of these things, if each one of them is going to cause a trail behind it. So it means that this is a very disorganized database. And maybe that's the goal, is to keep it as disorganized as possible. But you would think the New York State residents deserve better than this. And then you can always go to the actual site and make sense of it. So if you go to prop.tidalforce.org/elections, I think it'll just work. You can search on it by name. I'm going to drop what's there and reload it with whatever is there, but it's kind of an ugly way to do it. But that's what they seem to want us to do. I just think it's troubling. The whole system is troubling. But it seems like taxpayers are always at the brunt. Nobody's looking out for the taxpayer, so peace out.